I don't think we have enough women really talking about money, talking about their own personal finances, but it's something that I feel like we still really need to be talking about so that, you know, women, and particularly women of color, are able to see that inspiration and know that they can also make a difference when it comes to their money as well. Hello, welcome and welcome back to my channel. My name is Veronia, and in today's video, it's gonna be a little bit different because I kind of wanted to have a bit of a candid chat around women and money and just our personal finances in general. Also, just a quick reminder that I'm currently doing weekly lives in the month of January. So these are held on Sundays at 7:30 p.m. GMT, really talking about the different areas in terms of personal finances and really outlining what you might be struggling with and seeing how I can help as well. And of course, you have the opportunity to ask questions. So definitely make sure you're subscribed to my channel so you don't miss out. And I will of course link some of those lives in the description below for you so you can check them out. So the reason why I actually wanted to do this video is because many of you may know that I'm actually a money coach, and I specifically do help women when it comes to actually overcoming overspending so that they don't feel restricted, and also helping them create a financial plan so that they can basically spend intentionally, save more money, and be able to also invest like a boss. And so the reason why I wanted to focus on coaching women is because of not only the data that I found, but also the fact that money can already be quite a taboo subject. And I have really seen the struggles of women when it comes to actually dealing with their personal finances, but also when it comes to their career as well. And so I kind of wanted to use this video just to really talk through why I'm so passionate about empowering women and their finances. And then also I want to talk through, you know, some of the data that I've seen that really kind of solidifies the reasons in terms of why I actually really want to empower women as well. Now, as a quick disclaimer before I start to get any hate comments, no, I am not saying that only women should be watching my content, although the majority of my subscribers and my audience is actually women, to be honest. But what I'm saying is just in terms of when I'm actually planning my content, that's kind of who I envision in my mind, because I really want to be able to help them and also empower them as well. But of course, it's not to say that no one else can actually watch my content because YouTube is free. But enough about that. Let's just have a chat about women and finances, and I'm just going to talk about my own thoughts. And of course, I would love to know your thoughts in the comment section as well. So first off, let's just talk about research, because I had already done a little bit of research in terms of women and finances. And so I really wanted to understand, you know, is there actually a fundamental problem when it comes to how women actually view their own finances? And is this something we really need to be talking about and focusing on? So the first one was by HSBC, and there were specific findings that they found. So I want to just talk about each and every one of them. So the first one was that women were more likely to worry about their finances. The second one was that women are more likely to be concerned about their future. Another one was that women are less likely to consider themselves financially knowledgeable. Then there was the fact that women are less likely to take responsibility for household financial decisions. Also, more women have cash ISAs, so 72% compared to only 66% of men. And if you're not really sure what cash ISAs are, especially depending on what country you're coming from, these are basically just savings accounts. So these are individual savings accounts that you can use. And so when it comes to cash, it's pretty much very similar to like a normal savings account, so when you're only just saving money. But the reason why they made that point is because they also found that less women have stocks and shares ISAs, which is 28% compared to 42% of men. And so here, in terms of stocks and shares ISAs, this is basically something that you can use. It's a tax wrapper that you can use to essentially invest in the stock market. So essentially what they're saying is that you have a lot less women actually investing into the stock market through their stocks and shares ISAs compared to men. So hopefully that makes sense. And then the other thing that I saw is that you can then also see it when it comes to retirement savings. So in this case, in this study, they found that fewer women had a personal pension of any kind. 20% don't have one compared to only 7% of men not having a personal pension. And so when I first kind of read these findings, I'm not gonna lie, like I was slightly shocked, but I wasn't also that surprised as well, because I think when I first started with my personal finances, you know, it was something that I knew that I needed to make a change with. I knew that I was basically living paycheck to paycheck, but honestly, I was kind of scared of the process. And even when I actually did my first net worth statement, so I was really looking at, you know, what are my assets, so things that actually put money in my pocket compared to my liabilities, I was actually scared to see that number because I knew that it probably wasn't going to be a great number. And so I kind of got to the point where I almost didn't want to look at the numbers because I didn't really want to have that reality check, because I knew that I wasn't actually doing very well when it came to my personal finances. And so I can definitely relate to some of those points, I would say. And particularly, you know, if you are a woman and you resonate with some of these points, definitely let me know in the comments. But what I really see here is, particularly with the first few points, I think we do have a lack of confidence when it comes to actually dealing with our finances, and we feel like we can't be in a position to actually take control control of our finances and actually start growing our finances as well. And I think for a lot of us, I mean, sometimes I even speak to my clients and they kind of have this mindset when they first started working with me, is that they really just want to be safe. That's kind of the biggest thing that we want to do. And we're probably not going to do things that we don't tend to understand. And I think that's probably one of the biggest reasons why many women don't actually invest their money, because of the fear that they have, and mainly because they just don't understand how to invest, how investments work and things like that. But what's interesting that I saw is that obviously women are less likely to now also take financial responsibility when it comes to the household. And so what that means is that maybe a lot of women may then end up leaving the financial responsibilities and the decisions to their partner. And so again, this is really why I'm passionate about working with women. The reason being is because we have so much value when it comes to actually making financial decisions and actually being able to help with our finances. I think what stops us is almost that kind of imposter syndrome, where we kind of think we're just not good enough to work on our finances. But this is something that I really want to start tackling, because even though you may have this imposter syndrome, you would be surprised at what you can do if you actually set your mind to it, and if you really decide that you want to actually start taking control. And so particularly when it comes to actually, you know, the financial responsibilities and the decisions and things like that, and women not necessarily maybe helping to make those decisions, that is something that actually worries me. So I'm not saying that, you know, within your household, the woman should be the only one that actually makes the financial decisions, or it should be the man, or whoever is your partner. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is that even as a woman, you need to be able to understand what is happening with the finances. Because number one, I think it's so important, because God forbid, if anything happens to your partner, you'll probably want to understand, okay, do we have any assets? Do we have any investments? Do we have liabilities? How much debt do we have? You're going to need to understand this, because most likely you will then end up having to start making those decisions. The same thing with actually making financial decisions in general. If you are in a partnership, for example, let's say that you're married, I think it's equally important, because you're both going to have blind spots. So what someone doesn't see, you may be able to see, and you may be able to say, actually, I don't think we should just be putting our money into all of this. Maybe we also need to be thinking about something else. And so that's why it's so important for both of you to be able to actually have that discussion, even though you may have someone that probably knows the numbers a bit better, but the fact that at least you also have some input and you also understand it is probably going to make your life a lot easier. And obviously this is something where it's just my personal opinion, you know, you don't have to agree with me, but it's a big reason as to why I actually do really want to empower a lot more women to be able to actually be so confident with their finances, so that they can also be able to have that discussion at home as well. And another thing that I also saw within these findings, so within this study, they also found some themes and barriers that maybe prevented women from actually, you know, focusing on their finances. So the biggest ones that actually stood out for me was number one, support, and the second one was jargon. So when they were talking about support, this is essentially what they said. In terms of women, they said that we feel more confident when we talk financial matters over with people just like us. This can be your other half, family, or close friends, and bank advisors can be good at sharing your journey too. But the less support we get, the less confident we are about investing. And I think in terms of support, I actually want to add in role models as well, because I think role models is probably one of the biggest things that can help us and encourage us to actually realize that we can also make a change and that we can do something. So in terms of, you know, actually having role models, specifically when I started looking at my personal finances and I was, you know, trying to read books and I was trying to, you know, go on YouTube videos and just really understand the whole concept of it. When it came to actually, you know, looking at your biggest influencers, particularly when it came to things like YouTube, I hardly saw any women whatsoever, yet alone women of color. And so for me, if you don't see someone that actually looks like you doing something that you actually want to do, you are less likely to believe that you can also achieve it, because you've never seen someone that looks like you do it. And the reason why I say this is because, again, if I put on my old HR hat, so I used to work in diversity and inclusion, so this is something that I consistently studied on. When you don't have specific role models, you are less likely to believe that you can do something, and so then you're less likely to actually pursue it. And so if you don't tend to see someone that looks like you actually dealing with their finances, saving their money, investing their money, then you're less likely to think that you can actually do it too. And so what will happen is that you probably won't actually do it in the first place. And so that's why I actually wanted to be very transparent transparent with you guys in terms of my personal finances, in terms of letting you know that I was in debt, I was living paycheck to paycheck, and then I was able to get out of it and actually start saving and investing my money. The reason why is because I want you guys to see that if I can do it, then you can also do it too. Because if you can see that actually a woman has been able to do it and a woman of color has also been able to do it, I want you to have the belief that you can actually do it as well, and that you can also control your finances, and you can also start investing your money and build real wealth for yourself. And then the other barrier that I also mentioned as well that I wanted to touch on was jargon. So here it says that we're more likely to be put off by financial terminology we're not familiar with. It gets in the way of our understanding, especially when we like as much clarity and explanation as possible. Too much jargon can make an investment opportunity feel like it's not aimed at you. So again, like when it comes to jargon, I think this is probably one of the biggest things that stop women specifically from investing as well. And I've definitely seen it. And particularly, you know, if you're looking at some of the videos and they're mentioning all of this investment jargon, you might instantly just be put off. And so you're then thinking, I don't understand this jargon, so this basically isn't for me. And then that then stops you from investing, because then you have this fear because of the lack of understanding. And so that's why, especially in some of my videos, I really do try to make sure that I simplify it as much as possible. So I had a video, I think it was talking about investing in the stock market, especially if you're a beginner, where I try to use some of these terms to replicate different things in our everyday life. So things like supermarkets, for example, I will use that as an example. The reason why I do things like that is because I want you guys to also be able to understand the terminology, and I don't want you guys to then shut down thinking that you can't actually invest your money because you don't understand it. Now obviously I do dive deeper a lot more in my coaching programs, specifically when it comes to investments, so I really deep dive exactly what I mean by investing and really simplify everything. So definitely check out my one-to-one coaching program if you haven't already, and I've seen how that can also help when you actually simplify things. And so one of the examples is one of my clients, she was really scared to invest and didn't end up investing because she didn't understand the terminology, and she didn't really see anything in layman's terms, because even when you try to do a bit of research, they still kind of use all this complicated terminology and you have no idea what they mean, and then you get overwhelmed and you just kind of shut down and don't want to invest at all. And so if you actually want to see a clear example, my client actually did a video for me on my sales page where she talks about the fact that she had no idea what investing was, and now she's actually got her own portfolio as well. So definitely make sure you do check that out. I will link that up here for you and in the description below. So that is definitely why I try to simplify as much as possible, because I've realized that actually once you simplify something, and especially with women, once they understand something, then they have a lot more confidence to actually start doing it. And so for me, I really wanted to make this video just to highlight the struggles that I think women have when it comes to their finances, but to also, you know, let us know and actually empower us to realize that it doesn't have to be like that. We can make a change. We can make a change when it comes to our generation. We can make a change when it comes to our family and our own lives in general. And so I really hope this helped in terms of why I do some of the things that I do and why I tend to really focus on women. It's because I see the struggles, particularly because I've also been in a similar situation as well. But I also want to be able to show you guys that even though you may be in that situation, you can also make a change and you can actually do something about it. But if you did like this video, then please do give me a thumbs up if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments, what are your thoughts when it comes to some of these studies that I spoke about. I do post every Tuesday and Friday, so if you would like to know more, then of course you can subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys on Friday.